all set? I'd like to call to order the September 19th meeting of the Personnel Committee of the Lawrence City Council. My name is Dave Abdu, and I'm joined tonight by Kendris Vasquez and Myra Ortiz. I would ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On this evening's agenda, we have three items. 341A16 is a tabled matter that will remain on the table. That is the removal of Brita Dow from the Office of the Assessor. We dealt with last week at the last Personnel Committee meeting, at which time the item was split in two, and 341B was sent back up to the full council. 341A was left here on the table. The next item I'll entertain is 34316, an appointment to the Veterans Advisory Council of one Ramon Colon Garcia by Mayor Daniel Rivera. Mr. Garcia, good evening.
Good evening, Councilman.
If you would, please introduce yourself, give us your name for the address, your name and address for the record, and I would ask to tell us why you're here this evening and why you wish to serve the city of Lawrence.
My name is Ramon L. Colon Garcia. I live at 47 Morton Street. Apartment D is in David, and it's Lawrence, MA. And I'm here for because the mayor got me interested in the Veterans Commission, and he was pushing for a long time, and I decided to accept it. Because I believe I have a few things to offer for the veterans.
Well, thank you, Mr. Garcia. We've had the opportunity to know each other over these last several years, and first of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
If I recall from your paperwork, you served for 4 years.
Actually, it was 6. I was
6.
recycled. I was recycled. Just that I put the wrong dates on there.
Okay. In the United States Army, correct?
Correct.
What?
Airborne Ranger.
You were an airborne ranger?
Yes.
Again, thank you for your service. That's
Thank you.
not one of the easier ways to make your way through 6 years of service in the United States Army. So with that introduction and a bit of your military biography, do you wish to add anything further as to what you can provide to the Veterans Advisory?
I believe, like I say, there was a program which I'd like to bring into view for the veterans, which at one time I brought it up to the mayor, and he directed me to JT, and I just didn't feel right with what the conversation we had, which we became good friends with JT and myself. And I still would like to see that program in action, is getting a housing program for veterans housing. We have a lot of veterans here under the bridge and in the streets, which the system has abused, and the family has thrown them out, and now they're homeless. And I've made a few good friends with the head of claims for the Veterans Administration, Steve Lawler, in Boston. I also am very good friends with Francisco Ureña, and I have a few programs in mind which I'd like to see the city of Lawrence, which is not going to cost anything to the city. I've been offered from another organization called Operation Stand Down in Rhode Island. They would help me in any way, which I belong to that also, and help in any way that they can to get housing and have a process. The problem is getting a building. I was turned down at one time. I asked for the Roach Motel on Broadway and the street here, and I was turned down because there's a liquor store right next to it. But I'm still looking for a location to get a program going, which Operation Stand Down is willing to help. And I've been offered for materials, repairs, and so forth, and the Veterans Administration, like Steve Lawler and a few others, and doctors, have offered to give their time to come in and check these veterans out. Like I say, the system at sometimes do abuse them. They get discouraged and they don't show up anymore. So you got to keep on them to try to get them help. I don't want to knock Jamie, but I don't think he's doing enough for the veterans. And I have a soft touch for my fellow veterans, especially Vietnam veterans, which are the forgotten veterans. They're not concentrating, which is good. They're not concentrating on the Afghanistan vets. And I believe that we are forgotten, the Vietnam veterans. And this is, my goal is this, one day having a place for these veterans that are in the street, under the bridge. As I know you all know, we have quite a few under the bridge. Different organizations bring them food and so forth, and it's not enough. They need a lot of help. A lot of them have drug problems and lodgings and alcohol problems and so forth. And they need the help. They really do need the help. Like I say, I have a soft touch. Being a veteran myself, I feel for them. And I know the abuse that they get from the system. Not talking about here in Lawrence, I'm talking about the Veterans Administration. The system does abuse them. And I believe that with Steve Lawler, who's the head of claims for Boston, he has told me that he'll help in any way to get these people in claims, get them the benefits that they deserve, that they earned. And they sacrificed their life and, to defend this country. And for the Veterans Administration to abuse them, it's a shame. And thank God we have people like Steve Lawler and Francisco Ureña who are there battling, and maybe one day, the VA systems will change. This is all I really have to say, and I have soft touch for veterans.
Well, thank you. As a veteran myself, I appreciate what you're doing for fellow veterans. And as a candidate this evening for this position, I appreciate the fact you brought up the housing issue. We talk a lot about housing in Lawrence. We talk a lot about housing in
Yes,
society.
I'd like to get a building, which I'm working with Dan to see if we, with the mayor, I shouldn't say Dan, with the mayor to get a building. I've been looking and so forth, to see a building which is adequate. The VA will not approve a building if there's a liquor store next to it or around it.
Well, look no further than Northeast Veterans up in Haverhill. They do a great job, and there's no liquor store within quite a distance of them. Shortly after I was elected, I spent the day up there, and great program. And I thank you for making that the first thing you said as to why you want to do this. I think it's a very honorable and needed cause here in Lawrence. With that said, I would offer this opportunity to my colleagues for questions.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much again for applying, Ramon Garcia. I am very pleased to see your name and you interviewing today. I do have a question. It's more procedural than anything else. Do you know for which particular position you are being suggested?
Yes, I do.
Which one is it? Because I know that as a city council, we established a membership for the Veterans Advisory Council, and it has a 3-member for a term of 3 years, 2 years, or 1-year term. Which one in particular were you suggested for? How many years?
Beg pardon?
How many years were you?
As
asked
much
to
as
serve?
needed.
Okay.
I'm retired and I don't have anything to do, so when I'm creating problems for,
I guess my question will be more to the administration itself, Mr. Chair. The way we established the Veterans Council is specific as to how many years a member will serve. I know we will have to reappoint you, if you wish to continue to serve, but it will be a 1-, 2-, or 3-year term.
Okay.
And I was just, because it didn't specify or at least I wasn't able to see it, I don't know if any of you saw it, how many years you will be serving. If not, I still think that we should move the application forward, but we could ask for that information in the future. I just want to make sure that we understand the number of years that you'll be serving.
I have no objection with, whatever time I'm needed. I'm willing to serve.
No, and I know you've been doing it for many years in the community. I have heard very good things, and I've seen you do a lot of great things in the city of Lawrence, and I'm very happy to see that you are an applicant tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose that we ask the administration how many years they are suggesting for the appointment of Mr. Ramon Garcia.
Is that in the form of a motion?
I'll make that informal motion to send correspondence.
Motion on the floor to request information from the administration. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Any discussion?
Would asking through you, would asking for that hold up us sending this up to the full council?
It should not, no.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want that to happen.
No, it should not.
Very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Any further motions on Mr. Garcia?
Motion to send it up.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a motion to send Mr. Colon Garcia up to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
There's a motion on the floor and a second to send Mr. Garcia up to the full council with that recommendation. Any discussion? Hearing,
With a favorable,
right, did I not say
you
favorable?
said without,
Oh, excuse me, with
favorable
a favorable,
recommendation.
enthusiastically,
Okay.
Can you
Thank
add
you.
that?
yes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Good luck, Mr.
Thank you.
Garcia.
And God bless you all.
Let me just say, I believe this will be taken up at the October 4th city council meeting, correct?
Yes.
So your item will be taken up at the October 4th meeting.
Okay. Do I have to be here, or?
It is suggested through you, Mr. Chair, it is
Yeah,
suggested
that's no
simply
problem.
because, we have another 6 councilors that probably will have a question for you. So it will be better if you were here to be
Okay.
able to answer,
October
in
4th.
case he comes up.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Mr. Garcia, and thank you for your service. The next item this evening will be item number 34416, the appointment to the Cemetery Board here in the city of Lawrence of Nancy Corrigan. Ms. Corrigan, if you would, approach. Please give your name and address for the record, and tell us why you're here this evening.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Nancy Corrigan. I live on 7 Barnard Road in South Lawrence, and I am here this evening to hopefully get appointed to the, be considered to be appointed to the Cemetery Board.
So first of all, like Mr. Garcia, I want to thank you for your service to our community. I know you've been involved in several different organizations, like Mr. Garcia. For instance, Vice President of the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Association,
Yes, I am. Yep.
amongst other things.
And I'm chair of the Council on Aging with Martha Velez. And I'm on the Community Development Advisory Board.
Well, again, thank you. Counselors, are there questions for Ms. Corrigan?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. President?
I've also have seen the work of Ms. Corrigan, and there's one thing that you wrote in your application that I think is very important to highlight. There was a question that asked to briefly describe what she believes is something important, and I like this. She said that the city council needs to work together for betterment of the vision of the city, and you highlighted that the cemetery is getting a lot of bad press due to deplorable conditions, and that we as a body should be more aware of it to be able to come up with a plan to fix the problem. And you were very specific about hiring additional staff, creating a plan, and setting goals for the director of the cemetery, which is critical to ensure the success. Why don't you expand a little bit briefly on those visions and goals that you have for the cemetery?
Okay, well, first of all, I have about 38 years, maybe even more, of human resource experience. I did all the performance management. I was in charge of training. I reported to the president, set goals for managers, had to discipline managers when you had to. We had to help them with, when they did their budgets, to make plans, year plan, 5-year plan, et cetera, so that we would be able to submit an appropriate amount of money to get approved for what they had to do. I just think I was born and raised in the city of Lawrence. My grandparents came here from Ireland and England. They were immigrants. My parents lived here and worked in the mills for many years, and I really, really care about the city. And when I was hearing all the bad press, my parents are actually buried in Bellevue Cemetery in an area that has not been taken care of very well. So a couple of weeks before, 3 weeks before Memorial Day this year, we went up, and it was a mess, which I expected it was going to be a mess. And I was upset, but wasn't anything that I was going to bring to anybody's attention. But then the more I read in the paper or listened when I came to council meetings that people were complaining, I said something really needs to be done about it. And I sent an email to the superintendent and to the board expressing my dismay over the cemetery, and didn't get any response from anybody. I came to a board meeting and addressed the chair of the board mainly. The superintendent was not here, but my address was to the board anyhow. I just felt that there was something lacking. There needs to be more leadership. I think if you become the chair of a board, you're committing and you have a responsibility to do something. And I think that you need to take charge, and you need to work with the person to help them do the best they possibly can. And I know only from my experience with working with Martha Velez, she's like right on it. And if she has a problem or a question, she picks up the phone, she'll call me, we'll have a discussion. She'll say, gee, what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And we will do that. And I don't see that happen in the cemetery board. And I think I could add a lot to the committee because of my background in human resources, in performance management, and helping the person in charge lead and do what needs to be done to get the cemetery in good shape. I hope I didn't go too long, and hope I answered your question.
I think you did. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate you.
I have to honestly tell you that I really care about the city of Lawrence.
No?
And I want to see it flourish. I want to see everybody work together. And that's why I like to be involved in the city.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, thank you for your question, because my follow-up to Ms. Corrigan, now I'm not going to ask Mrs. Corrigan about this question, that was about developing a performance improvement plan, because I know that is a skill that you possess, an experience that you have that will serve you well on this board should you be elected or affirmed by the full council. So I was going to ask you about that.
Okay.
So, thank you. Councilor Ortiz, do you have anything? Very good. Are there any preferences or motions by members?
Motion to send up to the full council with a favorable recommendation?
There's a motion to send this up to the council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
A second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. President, did you want to entertain this tomorrow evening?
I think that due to the circumstances that we face currently at the cemetery, I will consider this to be an emergency matter, and I will suggest that you pull it up, you request that we pull it up tomorrow.
Very good.
evening in our meeting.
Very good.
Right?
So usually, this will happen at the end of the meeting, I wouldn't want you to have to stay for the whole night. So I'll speak with the chairman to find an adequate time to ensure that you don't have to be here for the whole night.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs.
I hope
Corrigan.
I do a good job. I have a lot to learn. I don't know too much about the cemetery, other than what needs to be done, so
Great.
I'll give it my best.
All right, look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, at this time, are there any tabled matters that you would like to entertain? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
The motion to adjourn, there's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you.